Hello, all you hardcore boxing fans out there. How are you doing? It's Russ here from Porky's Corner, the voice of hardcore boxing. But then again, you know that, don't you? Because that's why you've tuned in. Today, I'm joined by Julian from Dewsbury. How are you doing, Julian?
I'm good, Russ. Thank you. Yourself?
I'm all right. You're making your Porky's Corner debut?
I am. I'm familiar with the format. I've obviously seen a lot of your shows, so I thought it was time I came on.
Brilliant. A lot's gone on in the sport of boxing this year that's mainly not boxing related. And where do you see boxing heading at the moment, Julian?
I think boxing's in a real slump right now, and that's not being negative. I will start by saying, because I do a few Instagram videos and I get told I'm negative and I'm pessimistic and I'm down on boxing. I'm definitely not down on boxing, Russ, but I'm concerned about the sport just like you are, because I love it. And ultimately, what we're getting right now, we're getting sold, we're polished turds effectively with everything that's going on. And I think it's in a real slump.
Yeah, it's not in a good place. I obviously am outspoken about boxing at the moment. And so I put myself out there and give an opinion, and I take loads of abuse that you wouldn't be able to fathom if I showed you some of it. But I'm pretty thick-skinned, so not really much phases me. But nobody else seems to be doing what I do. Boxing Asylum lads pointing it out. Terry Chappendama points it out on the Beautiful Boxing podcast, or Beyond Boxing, I think it's called. There is a few that are pointing things out, but on the whole, the general feeling is that people just don't want to rock the boat because they want access to move forward with their channels and with their careers in media. So basically, it's like a taboo subject for some people, but not for me, because I've always been outspoken. If I don't like something, I'm going to say it. I don't have a filter, obviously, and sometimes it all comes out wrong, but I don't have any bad in anybody. There's no bad in my heart for anybody, but I just feel like we're being lied to constantly, and I feel that the problem lies with the people who are in power, and that starts with the Boxing Board of Control. They've got to show authority, then it will filter down to the promoters, the managers, the trainers, and the fighters. It will go down the line. But while ever they're being manipulated and desperate to get a few quid, these other people are going to manipulate. They're going to take advantage, and that leaves us with anarchy, because it's a mess, isn't it? There's no rules.
Yeah, it is a mess. I always like to think, Russ, that when people get into positions of power or positions of authority, initially I think they do that with generally good intentions. So you get people in the board of control, and I think the intentions might be there, but something must happen along the way where they get used to the power, they get used to the goodies, and things often go rotten, a little bit like governments. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was in two minds about whether to come on your show, but I just felt I'm a license holder. This won't be held in a particularly good light, because I know you don't get that many license holders on. I saw Mark Tibbs. Mark Tibbs was brilliant. And I thought about this, and I'm at that stage now. I just don't care, because I think if boxing doesn't care about boxing, and the people who's looking after the sport don't care about it, then why should I care about it? I'll never be as outspoken as you. I'll never be as controversial, but I do have things to say, and I'm happy to say it.
Are you a trainer or a second?
I'm a trainer. I've been a 2000. Yeah, in 2000 I got my trainer's license.
With board?
Yeah, with the board. It was Darky Smith who put me forward. I was training an old teammate, Mally McIver, he was a good guy. He's on the GB squad. Looks after some talented amateurs. I worked with him as an amateur, and then you just see the natural progression as he went into the pros. We were best mates. So he turned over. I followed him into the pros. And for his first 2 or 3 fights, I didn't get licensed. I was just training him. And it was Darky Smith, who managed him at the time, who said, Jules, come on, you need to get your license, get your act together. You need to get in the action. So I've been a license holder ever since.
He's Nick Banner's pal, isn't he, Darky Smith?
Yeah, Darky's fabulous. I've not seen him for a few years. I see his son, Stephen Smith, at a few amateur shows. They're good people, Russ. And Darky doesn't take any shit whatsoever.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to get him on, but I'm surprised you've come out and give your opinion on what's obviously you're not going to put it how I put it. You're being a bit more diplomatic, but obviously you weren't happy with how the sport's going. But with you being a license holder, it's a big thing for my channel to have you on because what normally happens when I have a license holder on, usually they ring me up a few hours after and say, "Don't put it out."
Right. You can do what you want. You're recording this. This is your entitled property. Yeah. Put this out.
I will put it out, yeah. So you've got no. Let's put this straight. You haven't got any beef with Boxing Board of Control, then, have you?
I have. Well, I have an issue with the way that they handled Gary Sykes as mandatories. I have big issues with that. With the head of the board, Robert Smith, in particular. I don't mind saying that. The good thing with me is, unlike a lot of people, and we all know they are, a lot of people make a living out of boxing, so they're not going to upset the status quo. I've got a good job, a good life, a good career. I don't need coaching. I've never made any money out of coaching. I've trained fighters for nothing. It's ended up costing me. So ultimately, if I say something, I'll always say what I believe is to be true, by the way. If I say anything, it won't be just slander or just random or in any aggressive tone. It'll be just something that says, this is wrong. What you did was wrong. You know it was wrong. And if I get a letter from the area council asking me to go explain myself, then I'll take that as it comes.
Yeah. Yeah. How's Gary Sykes doing now?
It's well documented, Russ. Gary has his problems. We spoke on Monday. We speak most weeks. You know, we keep in touch. Everybody knows, it was like a son to me. When he had big fights, he used to come and live with myself and the family. Kick my youngest kid out of his bed, and I'd have him for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, literally, so I could watch him. I could make sure he was eating right and make sure he was behaving himself. But Gary's had problems, but he's in good spirits. He's positive. His problems have been well documented. I think he's just done a piece with Boxing News. I don't know when that's getting published. It might be this week. But he's clean at the moment. He's sober at the moment, and he's taking each day as it comes.
Yeah, the problem is with boxers, once they've had a glittering career and that, they've been British champions or won stuff and that, once boxing's not there, they don't have a schedule, do they, or that discipline?
Nothing.
And they're searching for that high, aren't they? So they think that they can find it in drink and drugs, and that's usually the worst thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's difficult as well. It's like a catch-22 because the thing that makes these kids so tough. And I took Gary to his first amateur fight when I was his coach. He was 15 years old. And I knew then he was special. But he was from Dewsbury Moor, he was from a tough area. And he was dragged up. There's no dressing it up. Like a lot of kids, he was dragged up on a tough estate and he didn't really have a stable home life. It's that what makes them so tough. But it's also that what eventually becomes their downfall. Because I always used to say with Gary that I had him 2 hours a day in the gym. But Dewsbury Moor had him 22 hours of the day, and you just can't compete with that.
Yeah. How did you get into boxing anyway, Julian?
I've always been a massive fan from about 8, 9 years old. I used to get the boxing encyclopedias. My brother used to get Ring magazine and KO magazine in the early 80s. And I was at school, and we used to mess about in the garden with gloves, cheap gloves and cushions and scrap, me and my friends. And then when I was about 15, some of the lads at school said, there's a boxing gym down the road from us in Dewsbury. Do you fancy it? And myself and about 7 or 8 of my mates went down, and one by one they were dropping off for various reasons. And the irony, I was always the quiet one of the group, not the fighter as such. And I stuck at it. And within about 3 months, I had my first amateur fight for Keith Tate, Keith Tate's home champions. And I had mixed success, Russ. I'll never fabricate a record. I was pretty average, 8-6 over 6 years. And then I just fell into coaching, really.
Who taught you as a coach the most?
It was Mark Tate. He actually passed away recently. So Keith Tate passed away about 2 or 3 years ago. And then I heard the sad news that Mark Tate had passed away about 6 or 7 months ago. And Mark was one of these unsung heroes because Keith was the charismatic one and he looked after all the pros at the time, because we had a pro-am gym, even though that wasn't supposed to happen back then. But Mark Tate trained so many national champions, kids you'll have heard of like Mark Hobson, James Hare, Steve Conway. He was a really good coach, but it was tough. We weren't dressed up. We didn't have head guards, any of that stuff. It was literally, you sparred every night, and it was tough. But Mark was a massively underrated coach.
Can you just turn your volume down a little bit, Julian?
Of course.
Yeah. Is that better?
Okay.
Yeah. Do you remember Henry Wharton from over your way?
I do remember Henry. A couple of times Henry went to Keith's gym, but he used to be, there was other travellers who was friends with Henry Brewer and those guys. And those guys used to come through our gym and train at our gym. So I just remember Henry in passing when I was 15, 16, 17. And he actually once boxed at Dewsbury on a bill where Keith Tate's pros were on at Dewsbury Sports Centre. He was a good fighter, and he's a good coach as well.
Mm. And what good prospects is there over your way at the moment then?
I mean, there's quite a few in Leeds is booming, as you know. So Jack Bates and Jack's a really good kid. I know his dad's managed some fighters I've trained over the years. So Jack's a quality kid. I think it's ready to let him off the lead now. I think he'll do well. I know Sean O'Hagan signed a couple of good kids, but I think it's difficult right now, Russ, because the last 18 months, they've all just been sat doing nothing, haven't they? Not everybody's getting out there. Hopey Price, he's looking good as well.
Yeah, we wish Hopey Price well. What do you think about this influx of YouTubers coming into the sport of boxing?
I've no issue. If people want to put gloves on, they're past medically fit to fight. I don't have a massive issue with that. What I have an issue with is calling it professional boxing. And I think that's the problem now is the consumer that we've got today. Being realistic, how many aficionados have we really got in boxing who really know what quality they're looking at? I think it's less and less. We've got an influx of casuals and they can't distinguish between, you know, a Ryan Garcia or a Tank Davis and some of these Jake Pauls. I think it's really difficult for them to distinguish the difference. And so in some ways, I'll be honest, in some ways I hate it. I just think it's low level stuff. And these guys can't fight.
Mm. What do you think about Tommy Fury angling to get a fight with Jake Paul?
The reality is people will always do what's best for them, Russ. So if Tommy Fury can make an absolute load of money and have an easy night's work, which it would be an easy night's work for him, but what is he going to do? Is he going to say, listen, I don't want to drag boxing through the mud. I don't want to discredit the sport. That's already been discredited for the last... He's not going to do any more damage to the sport by knocking out this joker. So just do it.
Yeah. Then it's already been done to the sport, you mean? Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but I've just had Kent on today and he was saying that Frank Warren and Shane McGuigan and Barry McGuigan, they got involved with Freddie Flintoff, and that were the first, going back a few years, that were the first one, wasn't it?
Well, that was a fixed fight.
Yeah, well, I've heard Gordon Ramsay's looking to fight now.
Yeah. I mean, I know Ricky Gervais started it a long time ago, didn't he, doing the comic relief, and they used to have the charity boxing, and the McGuigans got involved in that because they'll do anything for a few quid, and I like the McGuigans, I like Barry. But it's just everywhere now, Russ. It's just one of those things that is part of society, isn't it? Everybody wants to be famous for 15 minutes. And I also think boxing is one of those sports that it's about egos and it's about testosterone. So nobody ever goes around thinking they can play football and they can play tennis or cricket. Nobody cares about that. But when you're talking in social circles and people start talking about fighting and boxing, then everybody, oh, I'm a boxer, I've done a bit of boxing, and it just becomes a nonsense, really.
Mm. It's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I don't know where it's going moving forward. I mean, I remember in the 80s, that was my era. And when the IBF came in 83, that was the third belt. And I thought, this is probably not good for boxing. Having two belts was genuinely competitive. You had two champions, you had easy unifications.
And then it might have been 88 when the WBO came in, and I thought,
Yeah.
4 world titles, and just have from then, and then obviously you've got the WBA now. They've got 3 or 4 versions of their own belt. And how do you get out of this mess? Where do you start?
Greed reaches into Korea. There's no way out now. We're in for long haul. It's got to start from the sanctioning bodies and the commissions, the Board of Control and the Nevada State Athletic Commissions, all them sort of people. They've got to get them all in a room and say, enough is enough. Now, I watched something yesterday with Muhammad Ali, and they were asking him about Joe Bugden. They were on this program. I'm not sure if it was This Is Your Life or Michael Parkinson. I forget. I think it was Parkinson. And he said, oh, Joe Bugner's whatever is no good and that. So Ali went, are you serious? He's the number 4 ranked guy in the world.
Yeah.
And then we had a champion, and then we had, they're like numbered, weren't they, 1 to 15, who were the best who were chasing him. And I think that were better than all these trinket belts, because there's so much confusion, isn't there? Really?
It's massively... Yeah, it's massively different. And I know that you've only got so much time, Russ, but if you just indulge me for a couple of minutes, I just would like to go through.
Yeah, go on, mate. You're all right. We've got take as long as you want.
Thank you. Thanks, Russ. And this is something I do feel passionate about, by the way. So if we go back in decades of 10 years at a time, so let's go back to 1971. Yeah, you had the premier weight divisions, you had limited weight divisions, and generally you had one world champion. The WBA started to fragment back then, but Joe Frazier, 50 years ago, was the heavyweight champion of the world. The pound for pounds were the Carlos Monzons, Bob Fosters, Jose Napolez's, all-time greats. The contenders back then, heavyweight contenders, were obviously Muhammad Ali was a number 1 contender back then. We'd got George Foreman, Quarry. So you know where I'm going with this. 1971, we'd unified belts, we've got all-time greats, we've got fights that happened, and the sport was massive. Fast forward 10 years to 1981, we had just such a golden era. You got Larry Holmes was the heavyweight champion of the world. Yes, there were WBA champions, but Holmes was generally recognised as being the man in 1981. You'd got Spinks, Hagler, Leonard, Benitez, Hearns, Quayers. You'd got all the glittering talent who all fought each other. That's also the key thing there. They all fought each other. You got big heavyweight contenders, again, not pretenders, but real heavyweight contenders. Fast forward to 1991, you got Evander Holyfield as a champion. You've got Chavez, Whittaker, Terry Norris, Michael Nunn, Mike McCallum, all these guys, heavyweight contenders. You've got Tyson, Bo, Razor Ruddock, and then I could go on and on and on. And as you start to jump forward 10 years at a time, 2001 still strong. We still have great fighters like Mosley, Jones Jr., Floyd Mayweather's coming through. And then you go to 2011, we have Vladimir Klitschko as a champion. And then if you look at the contenders in 2011, you got Povetkin, Chambers, Chagayev, Pulev. Bloody hell, they're still around, these guys now. So we've gone from Joe Frazier and Ali and Shavers and Norton and those guys and Foreman. And then we've dropped down. And now we're talking about Dillian White. You know, we're now in 2021. Dillian White, Joe Joyce, Deontay Wilder. Who's the champion? Who knows? Who really cares right now? And if you look at we have got some fantastic fighters. We've got, you know, the lightweights are red hot. But ultimately, the fights aren't happening. And I just think if you look at that 50-year picture, which is a big picture, and you could really drill down. If you look at how many divisions you had, how many weight divisions you had, how many champions that you had, but look at the names. How many fighters today will we be talking about in 50 years' time? Wow. So the sport there's little doubt about that. The sport, the quality of the sport, everything has changed, but it's not the sport it used to be. The purity of boxing is gone dramatically down for me.
Well, what you've just said there is what I've been banging on about for months. For example, Muhammad Ali, in his day, there were 2 belts, weren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But everybody, they more or less you more or less had both belts, didn't they? They started to get fragmented towards end of Ali's career, didn't they, the belts? But
yeah.
Ali had 16 wins over world champions. Tyson Fury has 3. That's the difference between Ali and Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is walking around saying he's a GOAT and he's got 3 wins. One over an old man, 40-year-old, one over Wilder, and one over a cruiserweight, Steve Cunningham. That's it. He's a GOAT. Never defended a belt. But yeah, and Tyson's got the division on parked up at the moment, and he basically. Now, Joshua's not beat that many more. What's he beat? 5 or 6? And we've got Ali with 16. But yet he fought everybody. Liston twice, Foreman, Fraser 3 times, Norton 3 times. These people were men's men.
Absolutely.
We've got fighters now, the businessmen before fighters. They're forgetting what their job is. Your jobs are to fight. That's your jobs, to fight.
Prize fighters.
So, yeah, I understand it's prize fighting. They want to get a prize. And Floyd Mayweather can shout and bawl about that, but he's got 20 wins over world champions. Well, if you're 21, if you count Conor McGregor, but I don't call him a boxing world champion. But
No.
Floyd Mayweather's done everything. He can shout and bawl because he's done it, been there and done it. We've got Conor Benn. He's not won a belt yet, strutting around pretending to be Floyd Mayweather. This is where we're at the moment. Everybody on these YouTube channels that has access to these people, they all agree with me, but they're not going to say a word because they lose access. And this is what we've got now. We've got promoters controlling their own narrative. Eddie Hearn's controlling the narrative around his shows. Nobody dare say anything because they get cut off. Licensee people like you, and there's other people, license holders and fighters, they all agree with me about what's going on, but they don't want to be cut off either. So what is it, a sport where nobody dare speak out? Because I dare.
And that's it. I mean, I'll probably get some kind of feedback from this one, from license holders, and so be it. But ultimately, like I said before, I don't rely on anybody to pay my mortgage or, pay for my kids. I do that myself. So I'm saying it because I believe it to be true. I think we know the rankings are manipulated. We know the situations are manipulated, and it's just enough's enough. And if I never work in boxing again, the way I feel right now, I don't really care. I genuinely don't really care, because what is it now? Is it boxing? Listen, boxing's always been a business for us. People will drop that line now and say boxing's a business. It's always been a business, but it's also been a sport as well. And there was an element of pride. And right now, I'm not seeing any pride. I always think back to when Ray Leonard fought Thomas Hearns. I mean, that unification fight was made in like 5 minutes, apparently, in the back of a limo between Dave Jacobs and Manny Stewart. Those were guys, WBA, WBC champion, number 1 and number 2. They were competitive. And I never quite understand what happens to amateur boxers, because when you look at Fury and Joshua and all these guys, they've all been amateurs. They've all boxed for nothing. They've all boxed for pie and peas and a cheap plastic trophy. We've all done it. You turn up, you don't know who you're fighting, and you get on with it and you have a rumble. And then something happens now where either the fighters won't take the risks, more like the promoters won't take the risks, the managers, the trainers, and everybody wants to keep getting paid, don't they? Nobody wants that cash cow to be exposed. And that's why we are where we are. Where, you mentioned earlier, Russ, that, he fought this many world champions and he fought that many. And he said Fury had fought 3. I understand Klitschko was a world champion, but some of these others, I just call them belt holders or organisational champions. I don't throw the word world champion around that often, if I'm being honest.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a WBA regular champion or you're an IBF champion, are you the best in the world? That's ultimately what it's. Alvarez is the world champion, isn't it? It's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's not good. And I think one of the big problems at the moment is the WBA. I think that's the worst sanctioning body out of all the belts. They've got that many champions. I mean, I did an interview with Dale Nichols, and you might have seen that. Were it 46 or 44 belt? 44 champions or 46 out of the 17 divisions, or the 18 if you count Bridgerweight, but they haven't got a champion for that yet. When Bridgerweight comes through, they'll have 50 champions, is it, from 18 weights when there's sort of this Bridgerweight out. At the moment, I think there's 46 out of 17. So you've got 46 people laying a claim to be the champion in 17 weight divisions. If that ain't confusion, I don't know what is.
Well, it's ludicrous, isn't it? Because it's that word, world champion. I mean, I don't know how many World Cups we have or how many Olympic Games we have. I believe we have one. And to the viewer, it's really obvious. It's really clean. I know, like darts split up into two organisations for a while. But now, I think what we'll get, Russ, is we'll get to a stage where anybody who turns pro, who doesn't win a belt of some sort, their career will be looked upon as like a major disappointment. I mean, can you imagine if Jerry Quarry and Cooney and some of those guys were fighting today, they would have held world titles. So if you're Colin Jones, and Colin Jones was a phenomenal welterweight, he knocked out Kirkland Lang twice, all this. Yeah. And he fought two really top fighters. He fought Milt McCrory twice, and then he fought Don Curry, two red hot fighters. Went the traditional route. He won the British, he won the Commonwealth, the European. But Colin Jones never won a world title, just like Tony Simpson. And I wonder what Tony Simpson and Colin Jones think now when they're watching some of these fighters winning these Argos belts and, on social media, telling the world that they're now the best. I just wonder what Tony Simpson thinks when he watches that.
You're probably right there. When Tony Simpson sees people like Shannon Courtney strutting about with a WBA belt, she was ranked 8, Ebony Bridges 9, and they fought for a vacant belt.
Yeah, I mean, what was the matter? Was the other 7 not available?
It's all manipulated, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. And we're fed that, and we're told that she's now a world champion. And if she's a world champion, then this is why we're where we're at. We are where we're at. And I'm not digging her out, by the way. It's just she's playing the system, isn't she? She's gonna, if she can make money and she can fight for a shiny belt, she's gonna do that.
Yeah, the system is upside down. We're making some noise about it, and let's hope that the Boxing Board of Control do their bit, because they're on the back foot at the moment. They're accepting people into boxing now from white collar and handing them, I'm not going to mention names, but we know who they are, these people. They're giving them licenses to be professional fighters, and they're from white collar. And a lot of them are awful. It is that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But they will go on. Sorry.
No, sorry, Ross. Yeah, and I was just going to say, they're not just letting the boxers in. From a coach's point of view, they're letting the coaches in. So you've got white-collar boxers coming into boxing who are not at a standard that's good enough, let's be honest with this. And now you've got a lot of them are bringing the coaches in, who coaches from white-collar background or no background. I had to refresh a few years ago when I had a couple of years out the game. And the level of coaching is not great. But anybody, I could get my 13-year-old son to go on that course and become a trainer second. Anyone can get a coach's license. And they're getting exposure because they're selling tickets, they're hashtagging left, right, and centre. And I feel passionate about, the coaching side. There are very few teachers out there in boxing. And where there are really great coaches, you just never hear about them.
Mm-hmm. I hear what you're saying, mate. I hear what you're saying, but it's... Okay, it needs sorting out. So we've covered that. What do you think next for Derek Chisora, a.k.a. Del Boy, a.k.a. War Chisora? What next?
I mean, who knows? I mean, he might end up fighting his mate David Hay again. Chisora's up for whatever reason. I mean, I wouldn't pay, but Chisora's pay-per-view. What's he got now? 10 losses, 11 losses?
11.
They keep reinventing him. He could go from one coach to another. Chisora's style hasn't changed at all since Fury did a number on him the second time. He's still got the same approach. Roll under, big overhand right, big left hook, grab. And listen, if he can make money, that's fine. But he's also doing damage to himself in the long term. And I guess that's the gamble that these fighters have.
Do you feel that Dave Caldwell can do anything with Chisora at this stage of his career? Yes or no?
No, I've met Dave several times. I do know Dave. I think there's two areas. Coaches, I mean, I'm a coach. I've coached for a long time. But the role of the coach is often overstated. You know, the fighter has to get in there and he has to do it. The fighter has to have the tools to be able to do the job. People talk about game plans. You've also got the opponent who's got his own game plan. But anybody who's been in a boxing ring will tell you, and Dave was a decent pro, boxing's largely reactive. You're in that ring and you're reactive. It's not proactive in terms of what your coach has taught you. So we'll see nothing new with Chisora. You might get someone like Shane McGuigan who can do work with Dubois, and he can tweak him a little bit because he's young and time's on his side. But I always think back, and I'm going back to the 80s again, Russ. Larry Holmes worked with Rich Giacchetti and Eddie Futch, who were two elite coaches. And as Holmes got older, what are you going to teach Larry Holmes about boxing when he's 33, 34? Nothing. So all Larry Holmes needed at that point was a conditioner, a timekeeper, and just someone to literally be in the gym with him as he's grafting. And Chisora will be exactly the same. You're not going to teach him anything. And even if you could teach him anything, he wouldn't have the interest or the aptitude to be able to develop him. That's my opinion.
Larry Holmes, one of the greatest jabs ever.
Oh, my hero when I was growing up, and this is why I struggle with boxing now, because when I was growing up, Larry Holmes was the heavyweight champion of the world. When I got into boxing, Holmes was the champion. Spinks was the light heavyweight champion. Marvin Hagler, Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns. So I was brought up around these guys, and Larry Holmes was just a superb fighter. He has to be one of the top 3 heavyweights who's ever lived. He's got to
be. What do you think about punditry in the UK at the moment?
Dreadful. I think it's dreadful. I'm not in the business of just digging people out for the sake of it. I have expressed this view before that. It's just, I mean, I didn't love Sky. You know, I hated the Sky commentary, I have to be honest. And I always found it was 3 rounds behind what was actually happening in the ring. So I struggled with Sky. You can see the bias. I think Costello will do a better job with DAZN. I think he has a good voice. He has a good pedigree. But you also have to get the right dynamic. But what I want to see neutral pundits on these shows. I always remember 2 people stand out for me, Russ. Steve Collins used to be a pundit now and again for Sky, and Gary Mason did a long time ago. And Gary Mason and Steve Collins would just say what they wanted, and they would just say what's true. And I think Al Frock says that to some extent as well. These are the voices that we're not hearing because they're not with the script, they're not with the narrative. And we don't get that now, do we? We get people on the payroll. I understand. You're not going to upset the apple cart. And I think it's not great. It's not exciting. I certainly miss the days of Reg Guttridge and Harry Carpenter. Maybe I'm showing my age. I almost miss Ian Dart to some extent. But what I don't like biased commentary, but I don't like when the action's spelled out to me. It's like I'm watching the fight. I can see exactly what's happening. You don't need to just spell every single thing out for me. I thought the Manny Pacquiao Ugas commentary at the weekend was dreadful. It was almost like Adam Smith was just paying tribute to Pacquiao all the way through the fight. He was talking about his achievements, he's an 8 division champion, etc., etc. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in the ring. Commentate on the actual fight, and it was dreadful, actually.
Yeah, Adam Smith, he gets carried away, doesn't he, with people's stamp collection and what tattoo they're having next. He's having a spider's web on his elbow in 3 weeks. He showed me the design. You know,
yeah, and that is it. And the thing is, I've met Adam Smith a couple of times. He's a quiet guy. He's a nice guy. He's a humble guy, and something must happen to him when he gets behind that microphone, honestly.
Would you let him babysit any of your pets?
No, well, neither him or the Gad, mate. No,
the Gad.
that you know that one's caught on, don't you? There's so many license holders I speak to, and just friends who are into boxing, and we love that one, mate. It's brilliant.
I don't know where I dig them up from, some of these names, but they tend to stick with people, don't they? Once I've named them.
Yeah, I think when you called him Bono the other week, and I'm not trolling, I was nearly crying. It was like that was just just fantastic.
Well, the thing is,
it's all so good fun.
Thing is,
it's all good fun.
Thing is with me, you see, Julian, I look at it like this. I'm trying to add a little bit of comedy into boxing and try and take piss along the way. I've got no bad in my heart towards these people, but if they're going to behave like they're behaving on social media or on TV, I'm going to have to pull them up on it and turn it and make them a bit of a figure of fun. If they want to behave like they're coming out and some of the stuff they come out, like, for example, Gareth A. Davis, a.k.a. the Rise of the God, when that girl stripped off, she's got a pair of knickers on and stuck her leg over that desk, and he went, "Oh, can you see that?" He's like, yeah. Like, he forgot for that moment in time. He will hate that for the rest of his life, but that will follow him around as a seedy man. He now looks seedy doing that. If he thinks he ain't look seedy, come on here and tell me about that, Gad, because I know you're watching. But when you've got people like him carrying off like that, then coming out, doing interviews, saying that Ebony Bridges is in touch with her body and she's like Muhammad Ali, she can do a lot for the sport of boxing and all that. The guy's lost his fucking marbles. He's lost his marbles. And he's not the only one that's lost his marbles. A lot of them, they get in front of the camera and they don't know what they're fucking doing. They must wake up the next day and think, what have I said? Like Robert Smith, for example, having a go at people on social media for being critical about Terry O'Connor's scorecards. It's not the first time he's come out and said, oh, we just dismiss people on social media. Their opinions don't matter. They haven't fought or whatever he's going on about. Robert Smith, come on my channel anytime you want, because you've had your hand in the cookie jar years. You've had a good life out of that border control. Over 900 grand you lot took out of the system last year, and you put it as expenses. You didn't even pay tax on it. It's all on company house. These people have had a good life out of the job. But yet nobody's allowed to criticise. Terry O'Connor should be demoted for some of his scorecards, and we should get somebody else in, and he should show leadership, not protect these A-star referees. No, battering up archers. It's been going on for years, and it's now a joke. The courting favours we own promoters constantly. Everybody knows what's going on, and nobody's saying a word. Nobody's saying... It's like with these drug tests from certain gyms. They're failing drug tests left, right and centre. Nobody's saying a word. Nobody's taking the licences off them. But every time certain gyms are getting wins, in my opinion, there's an asterisk next to that win.
Yeah.
But what's happening? Nobody's doing now.
Well, no, that's what I was saying, Russ, because nobody cares. I mean, I got criticised by quite a few people when Fury and Joshua was first made. I went on a friend's page. It's quite a well-known page on Facebook. I'm no longer on there now. And I said, I couldn't care less if they fight. And I got criticised saying, you're not a boxing fan. Why don't you want to see Fury and Joshua? But ultimately, they couldn't care less if they fought. The authorities couldn't care less if they fought. So if they don't care about boxing, why should I? Why should I? But the thing is I subscribe to Sky Sports, DAZN. I pay my TV license. So people say, if you don't like boxing, fuck off. If you don't like it, get out. It's like, no, hang on a minute. That's not the answer. I'm entitled to a view. I pay £100 a year license fees to the British Boxing Board of Control. I'm entitled to my say. I'm entitled to my viewpoint. And ultimately, that's why I'm on here today, to express it on here, because it's the only real avenue where I think people are listening right now.
Yeah, it is, mate. And this is why my channel is going through the roof at the moment. I can't keep up with every email that I get sent and comments. It's 6 a.m. while midnight now. It's full on, and I'm on my own. I get help of a tech guy, but these back me here, but with expenses and that. But I'm on my own. It's a non-profit making channel as well. But I enjoy it, and it keeps me off of drugs, keeps me out of mischief, and I'm very happy. But my argument at the moment is this: the two best heavyweights in the world from these shows, aren't they? Joshua, Fury. Yeah. Whichever's the best. Fury's got Ring Magazine, WBC. Joshua's got another 4 belts. So 6 belts. We've got all 6 belts. And they're not fighting. We've got all these heavyweights. Light heavyweights in the country. Callum Johnson, Boatse, Craig Richards, Lyndon Arthur. All these light heavyweights. they're not fighting as well. Who's at fault? Is it the trainers, the managers, the promoters, the TV company? Who's making these decisions? Who? Why are we not getting what we want?
That's why I think it's disgraceful. I really do, because as you know, I trained Gary Sykes for 8 years, and Sykes would fight anybody. Sykes was down to fight Adrian Broner. Yes, it would have been a hard night's work. We were under no illusions about that. But I remember getting the offer for the Broner fight, and Steve Wood messaged me, and I went up to see Sykes, and I told him the night before, actually, and he'd had a few beers, and I said, "You want to fight Adrian Broner in Vegas?" And he said, "Yeah, not a problem." And he had a few beers, and then he rung me the morning after us and says, "I had a dream last night that you came up to see me, and you said that I'm going to fight Adrian Broner." And I says, "Yeah, you are, mate." He never asked where, he never asked when, he never asked how much. He said, "Absolutely fine." He did 2 prize fighters above the weight limit and above lightweight. Whether it was the right decision or not, career-wise, maybe not. But he stepped up. He fought everybody there was. He took on his mandatories. And where's that? And I'm talking for dire money. I'm talking 14 grand for British title fights now. And these guys can't get out of bed for 30 million, 40 million. So I can't respect them. I can't respect any of these champions right now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree where you're coming from. I agree, but whatever happened to fighters just fighting like... I remember watching the other night, what now? Agler against Hearns. Agler Hearns. They agreed a price and they got at it, didn't they?
Yeah.
That was it. There was none of this back and forward. I want 60-40 or 40-60 and all this. Just said, look, they both got paid the same and they both got at it. And that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll go down in folklore. They'll go down in history as legends. And what we got now? We've got Dylan White shouting and bawling, "I'm the can man. Anybody who wants it can get it as long as they're over 40 and shot to bits."
Yeah, yeah.
Dylan White's got a vacant British title against Ian Lewinson. He didn't want to fight Caballel when he had European. Never called Caballel out. Wouldn't dare dream about fighting Joe Joyce when he had European. Don't mention them two. He knocked Joshua back at Wembley for a rematch in a third fight because he beat him in amateurs, Dylan, didn't he? Joshua beat him in pro, so it'd have been a trilogy, technically. At Wembley, only the biggest stadium in the country, only 4 world title belts and only 5 million minimum, guaranteed 5.5 on upside, but not take back. And then what happens? Ruiz steps in and beats the chump. So he missed his boat. Dylan White, is now on the outside looking in. He might not get a way back now because it could be tied up another 2 or 3 years. He's on the outside looking in. His fault. But is he bothered? No. Strutting about like that, isn't he? Bruv. Giving it all that. Not fought no one yet. What's he fought?
Well, the noise you just heard was Jack Dempsey turning in his grave because you just said that he turned down a world title fight. Did you ever think when you were young and you were watching boxing that anybody would turn down a chance at the richest prize in sport?
No.
It's your dream, isn't it? It's your dream to fight for the heavyweight champion for the world. And he turned it down.
Can you imagine Mark Tibbs and Jimmy Tibbs sat at home getting a text off somebody? Mark's gone. Mark, well, I don't know if this happened, but could you imagine Mark Tibbs going, "Oh, Dad, look at that. Dylan's knocked back Joshua at Wembley." Can you imagine what Jimmy Tibbs did? Don't forget Jimmy Tibbs fought on the undercard when Henry Cooper fought Ali.
Yeah.
Jimmy Tibbs must have thought, is he off his head or something? Where's Dylan? You should be ashamed of yourself. Never mind all that. Well, I knocked it back, bruv, to Coogan. I knocked it back, bruv, because rematch clause weren't right. Fucking beat Joshua first and then talk about rematches. Renegotiate. I knocked it back, bruv. I knocked it back. It just wasn't right. Rematch contract wasn't right. What the fuck?
Well, this is where we're at. This is where we're at, isn't it? You know, is this where we are in boxing? And unfortunately, it is. So that's why I couldn't tell you a lot of the champions at all the weights because whilst I love coaching and I love sometimes being in the gyms, not for a while now, but boxing is just in such a shit state. You know, you've got people getting paid 30, 40, 50 million for doing exhibitions like Floyd. And Floyd's probably earned the right, to be honest. And you've got other guys. I mean, the Conor Benn thing, you talk about Conor Benn. The watch thing was something I saw that on his, it just popped up on YouTube a few days ago.
Been took down. Been took down.
It offended me. It offended me for a couple of reasons, Russ. Might not be reasons that other people agree with me, but ultimately, as a socialist, you got a war going on right now. You've got a pandemic. You've got people who've lost their homes, their businesses, their jobs. And my dad died this year of COVID, so people are losing their life as well, Russ. And you've got Conor Benn showing his 220 fucking grand watch and his new car and saying the best for the best. And I just thought, wow. I mean, do you know what? I used to follow Ray Leonard on Instagram before I wound it down. You never heard Ray Leonard talk like that. You never heard Ray Leonard talk about his wealth or show off his money or anything such as that. And you get these guys who haven't done anything yet. I think McKinson would stand him on his head. He would absolutely box him like nothing. You know, he wouldn't get near to me. He wouldn't, just like Bomber Graham would have done with Nigel. And Nigel was a good fighter. He wouldn't know what to do with McKinson. And it's just the narrative, as you've been saying on your show for so long now. It's tired, but the thing is people believe it. People believe he's a world-class fighter.
Hey, you forgot to mention Conor Benn. I'm crushing it, Jim, and I've got heated seats in my Range Rover, bruv.
Yeah, I'm pleased for him. You know, I was brought up to never kind of talk about your wealth. Maybe that's a working class thing. You know, my dad was a coal miner.
Same as my dad. Same as my dad.
Ah, right. There you go. Small world. And my dad was
Yorkshire Main Miners Welfare. My dad worked at Yorkshire Main Pit.
Ah, right. My dad works at Charleston, and my brother, they were both miners, and we were kind of brought up that you don't talk about your wealth. Listen, if you've done well and you get something nice, it's nice. It's you know, be proud of it. Don't have to hide it, but just pumping it on social media that how much things cost and what you've got, and you know the price of everything and the value of nothing. The
best part about the video when they said a serious watch for a serious man.
Yeah. Oh, well, the thing is, though, you know what the thing is you'll never, Russ and I, you'll never be proven right, because Conor Benn will go down such a route that he effectively avoids anybody with a pulse, and he'll get somebody we've heard of for some title, and then he's going to prove you wrong and prove me wrong and say, you see, I'm a world champion, bro. I'm a world champion. And you'll never have the last laugh, because he'll make 10 million in doing so. He'll collect a couple of belts with probably out fighting anybody in the top 7 or 8 in the world.
Yeah, that's where boxing's going, I'm afraid, at the moment.
Yeah.
People masquerading as world champions who shouldn't be. And there's kids who don't get chances who should be. So the answer, in my opinion, lies with border control. They've got to show authority and leadership. And they're not doing that. All they want to do is get out for a jolly up. Border control, Robert Smith. We know you and Charlie Giles. You love a good jolly up. You love your freebies and that, but what are you doing with the sport of boxing? What? Do I have to put billboards up in Yorkshire? I've been looking at the site in Sheffield yesterday. Do I have to put Robert Smith, Charlie Giles, and anybody else who gets in my way on a billboard? Because I might just do that, because I've got a couple left that are paid on. So we're going to see, aren't we? So
good.
But
I mean that is it. It's a popularity contest, isn't it? I mean, the DAZN shows recently was just all the good-looking people, wasn't it? Just none of them were watching the shows, by the way.
I thought the best
part... You could see in the background. None of them were watching. No one was interested in what was going on in the ring. And I thought that was such a shame when you had some good fights, like, you know, Lee Wood. What a night he should have had to remember. And half of these guys are just taking selfies in the crowd and they're not even watching the fight.
You mean the pissed up people on with the 800 quid comp tickets?
Yeah, such a shame. And it's a popularity contest. I mean, apologies going back to Gary Sykes, but when Gary Sykes was a good servant of British boxing, and when he lost his British title on a close decision to Gary Buckland, he had to wait 32 months for another shot at the British title, because he didn't have a big promoter lobby in the board. So I was ringing the board up. They stopped answering the phone to me. I was saying, right, give us Give us an eliminator. Sykes will fight anybody. Gary will fight anybody. Give us an eliminator. We had to go on the road. He had to do a prize fighter. He took on everybody. And then we said, right, let's force this position. So Sykes went out there. He beat 13-0 Kev Hooper in his backyard. Still didn't get mandated. He then went and beat Johnny Case 16-2. And then he beat Femi Faintola, who was a good fighter, who was 23-2. Imagine anybody nowadays with a matchroom fighting 3 kids back-to-back like that to force a British title fight. Well, that's what we had to do. We had to force our mandatory. And then the poor kid, because he didn't have a big promoter, ended up fighting and regaining his British title on a non-TV show. I mean, when would you ever hear about that?
Well, you won't, would you?
Wouldn't happen.
You won't happen.
Kid from Dewsbury, nobody really cared about. Didn't sell tickets. Wasn't a big ticket seller. A bit like the cruiserweight at the time, Rob Norton. I think Rob Norton had one British title fight in 2.5, 3 years. Why are they not bored? Why are the board not looking after the champions who are not big ticket sellers and mandating and keeping them busy and keeping those belts moving?
Well, what you've just said there is correct, because with the WBC, Marcus Brown's not fought for 2 years. Now he's got a shot at the title. So how does Dylan White feel about that? Because he's been screaming that he's mandatory for 3.5 years, but why ain't Dylan White serving papers on WBC? Because he don't really want to fight Wilder, does he? His style's wrong for Wilder. He's there to be hit, Dylan, isn't he? Wilder
get taken out.
Wilder puts him into orbit on the moon. But yet they're going to pay lip service to us, and they're going to say they want it. They want it. Anybody who wants it can get it. Isn't that right, bruv? Nobody fucking can get it with you, Dylan White. You only fight old men like Malcolm Tan, Marius Vac, Lucas Brown, Povetkin twice. And who's this guy you're fighting next? This Franklin guy. He's pushing late 30s, isn't he? I mean, it's never ending, isn't it?
Yeah, it's poor, isn't it? And that's what we're being served up, and we'll be asked to pay for that as well. And that's the issue. But look, you've had your opportunity. You didn't take it, so you're going to have to wait. But ultimately now the belts are tied up, aren't they? We've got. I mean, I don't think the Fury fight's going to happen. I think the Joshua fight might happen. I think he gets beat, by the way. And if Fury fights Joshua and both of those remain unbeaten, I'll be amazed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it'll happen. One of those guys is going to get beat before they actually end up fighting. It's a little bit like it won't be the same situation, but who knows, Russ? We might be talking about Fury and Joshua fighting in 7 or 8 years' time, like we're talking about Khan and Brook now, when it's just done, when both of them are shot, they've got losses on the record, and they just need a few quid. And we might even be in that situation.
Yeah. Do you think Billy Joe Saunders quit against Canelo, Julian?
It's a direct question. I'll answer it. I think the word quit, it's like a swear word in boxing. The word quit means to stop doing something. And he didn't want to go out for that next round. Whether it was an injury or not, there was no protest in the corner. The camera showed that. They put the end swell on the injury. So that told me that they at least wanted to try and get ready to go out for the next round, no matter what that injury was, which I know has been debated. And I'm not going to say, by the way, Ross, that Billy Joe Saunders didn't damage his eye socket. I won't go on record as to say that. What I'm saying is, before that injury was known, he sat down and he didn't want to go out for the 9th round. That might be the right thing, by the way. I'm just going to say, in the sense of the word, he quit. But if that's going to be better for his health and in the long run, I'm not going to knock him for that. I'm just going to say Ray Leonard would have gone out for the next round. Marvin Hagler would have gone out for the next round. Chavez would have gone out for the next round. I'm not saying that's right, Russ. I'm just saying he chose not to go out for the next round.
Yeah. Mark Tibbs asked him if he had another round in him, and there were nothing coming back, were there?
No. And you could see the body language after that right uppercut landed. You could see there's a minute to go or something. The body language just changed, didn't it? It went almost to like passive. I just don't want to be here any longer. And you could see that change straight away.
If I were your fighter, Julian, and I came back to corner and I said, my eye, and you said, "Have you got another round in you?" and I went like that and put my head down, what would you think that I was trying to tell you?
You surrender if you don't want to carry on, so I'll pull you out.
Right, that's good enough for me then. That's good enough for me. Billy Joe, I know you've not done an interview in 16 weeks since the Canelo fight, but you're more than welcome on my channel. If you want to offer an explanation to what we've just spoke about, I'll give you the opportunity. I'm surprised you've not been on IFL because Coogan's your best pal. So you're more than welcome on here to show me that you wanted to carry on. And then I'll have Mark Tibbs on straight after you. All right. I think that's about it, really. There isn't really much else to talk about. I wanted to ask you, Joe Joyce and Sam Jones. I've given Sam Jones some stick for over a year, for nearly a year now. Joyce has been talked about fighting Usyk for vacant WBO. Not once did they put a legal letter into the WBO when they went over the time limit, whereas they could have done. So, do you feel that Sam Jones is trying to keep Earn sweet and Warren sweet and not rock the boat by pushing for that fight?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because ultimately, like, boxers have one career. But managers and trainers, they have longer careers and they don't want to upset anybody. And if everyone's going to end up making a few quid, irrespective of, Big Joe's aging, time's not on his side, he's not really going to improve too much. But if he's still promised 3, 4, 5 million and someone's saying to him, just wait a while, a little bit like Lennox Lewis was paid, step aside money and like Tyson fight Bruno, all that kind of thing. Yeah. Then they're going to do that. They're going to do that, Russ. They're going to all make money. They'll get the cash at the end of the day. And the trainer is always. I always think the trainer's got a different role to the manager. The managers and promoters will always do what's best for themselves. They're on the highest cut, whereas trainers, depending on the relationship with the fighter, they're in the gym with the fighter night after night after night. So they're in a different position, but the manager will just move on to the next person and the next person. And I would assume Sam Jones has got a mortgage and he doesn't want to upset anybody.
Yeah, I see where Sam Jones is coming from, but isn't it his job to go out there and do his best for his fighter?
It is his job. And that's what we're saying about the state of boxing now. Nobody's doing the job, are they? The board of control aren't doing the job. The promoters aren't doing the job. The managers aren't doing the job. And a lot of the fighters aren't doing the job, I think they're the lesser blame when you look at things. So, yes, he should be out there pushing for that mandate, but are you surprised that he's not?
No. Okay, let's finish off on this. Do you feel that if you're not as outspoken and controversial on social media, you don't get the chances? For example, Hughie Fury, he's still 26 years old. Matchroom seem to have gone quiet on him, don't they? And then we've got Savannah Marshall, who has won every fight she's had. She's got a win over Clarissa Shields. Matchroom don't seem to be delivering the Clarissa Shields fight further, do they? But do you think it's cost Savannah Marshall and Hughie Fury? They don't put themselves out there. A bit like Callum Johnson, he's quiet and he goes about his business. Do you feel these kids are not getting their opportunities because they're not controversial on social media, like Alan Babick or Steve Allen, some of these other people like that, do you feel?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely the case. I saw Peter Fury's interview on BBTV a week or 2 weeks ago. It was probably the best viewing that I've had in the last 2-3 years. It was brilliant viewing. And everything he said was absolutely spot on. He says, the guys are in the gym. And he kept saying, we're just waiting for dates. We're just waiting for dates. Well, nobody else is waiting for dates, are they? The favourites aren't waiting for dates. Everybody's got things lined up. And Savannah Marshall, I mean, she's just fantastic. And then you've got Hughie Fury, who's there or thereabouts. He's developing, he's improving. But he stepped up really early on in his career, didn't he? He stepped up and took on serious fighters, and he'll be a better fighter because of those experiences. But you do have a situation, as you've said, where they're less vocal, they're less showy, and the guys who are not the best looking in the popularity contest won't get the opportunities. They're missing 3 or 4 key years out of their career. And Peter Fury must be so frustrated because coaches like Peter, you see the form in the gym and you know the fighter that you've got. You're like, do you know what? My fighter could actually beat him right now. He could beat him right now. He could beat him right now. But unless you start opening your mouth, you're not going to get the opportunity.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it?
It's a shame. It is. I know you always you'll say, it's like a circus. I think boxing's more like a soap opera because I think it's so predictable right now. And what do they do with it? They keep bringing back the same characters and reinventing them because people recognise them and they know who they are. And it's just a tired sport right now. And as I've said, it's like a soap opera, like Prison Cell Block H in the 80s when it was, the DAZN shows reminded me of Prison Cell Block H. It was just shambolic, it was just shambolic, and it was put, where was the great production quality that they were talking about? I know it's quite early on, but as you said it, and this might end it, Russ, but not Shannon Courtney, Ebony Bridges boxed in fishnet tights. Is that where we are now? As a fucking sport, is that where boxing is?
With fake boobs.
Yeah, just... Oh dear. Listen, I'm going to get some backlash on this, and just to anybody out there, I'm saying the truth. Russ, you've been saying for quite some time now, all you license holders are talking to me, you're texting me, you're messaging me, and you're fueling me, but you're not coming on here and saying it. So I just thought, listen, I'm a sensitive guy, I'm not outspoken. I thought instead of being spineless and worrying about, my perception and worrying about how I come across in the spot that I'm in, I'm going to come on here, I'm going to say what I think, and if people like it and agree, that's fine. If people think I'm full of shit, that's fine too. But if I hit a raw nerve, you have to ask why I'm hitting a raw nerve.
All right, brilliant. Right, thank you for coming on, Julian.
No worries.
Would you like to come on again?
I'd love to, mate. I'd love to. I can well, I can put a glass eye to sleep when I start talking about facts and certainly about boxing and boxing history. And I used to make a lot of predictions on my Facebook page, and I was, without sounding like a dickhead and bragging, I was pretty accurate on a lot of those predictions, and I break the fights down. So if ever you have any big fights, you want any previews, you've got time, you're a busy man, give me a call and I'd love to come back on, mate.
Well, listen, you're welcome on any time you want, but if you have any problems off the Boxing Board of Control or we're coming on here, SYPS will let you use their lawyer to interact with the board at no cost. All right?
Thank you.
No problem. We'll help you out. All right?
You take care, Russ.
Thank you very much for coming on. You've been a great
You're
addition
welcome.
to
Thanks,
the board.
everybody.
You've been a great addition. You take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, mate.
Bye. Been a great addition, Julian, to the Porky Express train. I think that's about it. 11 o'clock. I don't really know what to say after that. I'm blown away by what we spoke about there. A nice fella who came on, spoke eloquently. I didn't put him under too much pressure, I don't think. What he said at the end there, Julian, were fantastic. There's a lot of people who are license holders who want to come on here and say the bit, but they're frightened that Boxing Board of Control. Don't be, because I can help you out with a lawyer, all right? And I can assure you, she's Team Porky as well. It's a woman, and she ain't got no qualms about firing off a letter to the Boxing Board of Control. And if they want to take it further, they can come and take me on, because I love a battle, all right? I've got no against the Board of Control personally. I just want to see them at the fucking food banks. That's where I want to see you lot, at the Board of Control, at the food banks. Instead of pouncing off the sport. Pouncers. That's what the Boxing Board of Control are. Pouncers. All right. Nobody's allowed to question them, are they? So there's a couple of other people who are license holders that I think I can get on here, but it's just a case of when they come on. There's some ex-pros who've worked in media who are former world champions. They might be coming on to say their bit as well. But I'm very controversial, but I don't get two flying fucks about any of this lot, any of this shower that are killing a sport that I love. All right, I'm passionate about boxing and I love it. And if I weren't doing this, I'd still be watching boxing. I love boxing that much. But I'm not going to sit here and let people ride roughshod over the sport because it's in disarray at the moment. Disarray. And these people are telling lie after lie after lie. They're pulled up about it and they just give a cheeky smile and a laugh and just go, it is what it is. You say, oh, Eddie, you lied about this the other day. Oh, it is what it is, isn't it, Cougs? And that's it, brushed away. In other words, fuck off, Cougs. Have a nice day, Cougs. On your way, Cougs. Fuck off, Cougs. And that's it. So if the main YouTubers can't get the truth out of these people, we have to expose them. I'm looking at putting more billboards up, going after them all. Oh, yeah. It's just a case of where they're going to go up and what designs, and I have to look at my funds, but we're not giving up. If anything, I'm just going to throw more time and money at it. All right, because I think it's a good time for me now in my life. So I think it's time to get stuck into these fuckers. All right? So instead of wasting time and effort on Big John Fury posters, billboards, big fighting man that don't fight, been out of jail 6 years, not thrown a punch. Pop, pop, bang. Instead of wasting time on it, big shithouse, big dosser, we might as well go after border control, haven't we? Instead of wasting time on dossers and born liars. You know, fucking living in wood. Fucking living in wood. Do me a favour, John. So that's about it, really. That's your 2 videos today. Kent done, Julian done. I'm going to do a Lee Priest back workout now. Peace out. Keep on trucking. Keep sporting boxing. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video on your WhatsApp. Share it on your Facebook. If you care about boxing, you'll share it on your WhatsApp. You'll share it on your Facebook. You'll share it on your Instagram, on your Twitter. And you'll watch it twice. All right. We do have a members area. You go onto your computer and press join. Members area. That's 10 extra videos a month. Less than 60p a video. $5.99 a month. We stick that money into helmets of the month. All right. That'll be a classic this month. Helmets of the month. Or super helmets of the month, should I say. All right. We've got it. That is a super helmet. 2 Japs eyes in it. Because it's super. All right. I haven't decided who's going to be the super helmet of the month yet. Because we haven't had adult votes up. But when we do, it'll be a classic. All right. Peace out.